Good afternoon on a Tuesday. First Alert meteorologist Isaac Williams here with an update on what we are expecting for this weekend. We are continuing to see signs of a significant winter storm in North Georgia, and that does include metro Atlanta. This is nothing like what this past weekend served up for Central and South Georgia, and metro Atlanta mostly missed out on the winter precip. This time around, we are probably going to be right in the middle of it. So we're going to get right into what we're expecting. I have some new model data to show you as well, and we are looking at the possibility, again, of some significant impacts Saturday, Sunday, and maybe now Monday of next week. We have significant ice and snow possible across the region, and that is likely to disrupt travel in a big way. Major travel disruption is looking increasingly possible as we move into the time frame of Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Again, specifics on who gets what just yet, too early to determine, but I'm going to spend some time with you this afternoon and kind of show you the latest on what we're looking at, and again, some new model data coming in too. The latest here, a quarter inch of ice, 90% chance that Atlanta sees a quarter inch of ice, and usually it only takes about a glaze to a tenth of an inch to start to cause some issues on bridges and overpasses, but a quarter inch of ice or more starts to cause some major problems on not just the bridges and overpasses, but not the secondary roads, the primary roads in the mix too. And then as we look at a half an inch of ice probabilities, we're looking at even more of a chance of that happening. So an 84% chance of a half an inch of ice here in Atlanta will be very significant. Again, these numbers are going to change, but the fact that we are seeing such high probability at this time range is very significant, and definitely tells us a story that some parts of North Georgia are going to be very much impacted by a winter storm to the likes of maybe we haven't seen in quite some time around here. This is just ice, though. I'm going to walk you through some potential snow totals in a minute, but right now we're looking at this mainly being a freezing rain or sleet situation, which is not the precipitation type we want to see. And snow lovers, I wouldn't get super excited just yet in metro Atlanta. So we're talking about ice accumulation here of a half an inch or more. That is of the crippling variety. That's when trees come down, power lines come down, power outages happen, and where travel basically is not possible. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but we're seeing signs that we will see that level of ice accumulation in parts of North Georgia. But even significant icing of a quarter inch to a half an inch, we're looking at that being a distinct possibility as well. So I would prepare now for potential major travel disruption, possible power outages, and potential tree and power line damage. That's the type of impact we're looking at. Again, we're still in the range where things can shift a little bit, and maybe best case scenario, we get a bunch of snow and it still impacts travel, but we don't have to deal with the icing. But right now, things are looking more toward an icy situation than anything else. The latest time frame, we're going to get a new model run. I've got a new one here, and then this one, the European model, is going to be updated within the next 30 minutes to an hour, and we'll keep you posted on any future developments. But through the day Saturday is when things are going to be going downhill across North Georgia. We may start the day dry, but precip is going to be moving in, and you can see the green line indicating where the freezing rain just becomes a cold rain down toward Macon and Middle Georgia, but most of our coverage area is in the threat for winter precip. To the north, we've got snow showers in the mountains, and if you live up in Blue Ridge and LJ and some of the higher elevations, you're probably more in line to see a good bit of snow potentially, maybe mixing with sleet and freezing rain. But farther south, closer to I-20, we're talking Athens, Atlanta, we're probably going to be in that zone of sleet to freezing rain most likely. Again, we're not seeing signs of this being just a cold rain at this point, unfortunately. We've got sub-freezing temperatures with a cold rain, which makes this a freezing rain and ice setup. This is what we're looking at Saturday night, and as we take you into overnight into Sunday morning, we still have the precip around. So we're looking at least 12 plus hours of steady winter precip across the region. And I say winter precip because we could be going back and forth between sleet and freezing rain. Maybe a little snow up in the mountains, but by Sunday morning, even the mountains could see ice versus snow. But again, this other model I'm going to show you in a second actually paints a slightly different picture. But even through the day Sunday, notice how long that pink lingers even into Sunday night. So again, most of the weekend is going to be dealing with a situation where we're looking at significant impact. So as it stands now, Friday is still okay to travel. Saturday morning, your last minute errands need to be completed. And then by Saturday night, travel becomes difficult. And then Sunday, At this point, we're advising no travel at all. So that's what we're kind of looking at in terms of as it stands now. Again, this is 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. We're getting new models all the time, and we'll continue to keep you posted as always throughout the course of this upcoming event. Snow totals from the European model really pile it up in Tennessee and far north Georgia, North Alabama, and North Mississippi, and into the Carolinas. Again, this is snow totals, and notice it's showing Atlanta traced to 1 inch. This is one model, though. Again, this is showing us and reminding us that right now we're still expecting kind of a freezing rain and ice situation for Atlanta, whereas the snow totals to the north could be quite high. The other model that we are showing you has potential freezing rain in Atlanta through Sunday morning, snow showers in the mountains. That part of the forecast is actually, both models here are agreeing very much on. Through the day Sunday, though, watch what happens. It tries to bring in a little bit more cold air to where we see maybe a little snow potentially Sunday night and Monday. This is a new wrinkle in this model. It has not shown this in the past couple days. So we're going to see if this is a new trend. And also notice the timestamp here. It keeps that precip around until Monday morning, which means that we could, again, continue to see those impacts last not just through the weekend, but early next week. Right now, we're not expecting this level of snow in Atlanta yet. We're waiting to see if this becomes a trend and the colder air kind of gets here with a little bit of moisture left over. We're pretty confident at this point on freezing rain and ice, but do we get a little snow on the back end? Again, that's a new wrinkle in this model that we're going to continue to watch and follow very closely. All this is a classic setup for winter weather. We have high pressure to the north, keeping that cold air in place. We have lots of moisture coming in from the Pacific and the Gulf, and these are joining together, so we're looking at this widespread winter storm, not just for North Georgia, but we've got Oklahoma City, Dallas, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, Nashville, Knoxville, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, Atlanta. Lots of big cities across the Deep South and Southeast could be impacted by this, and this is going to take us through the weekend, and again, possibly lasting into the first part of next week as we continue to see this high pressure in New England bring us a wedge of cold air, and that's just, again, a very classic setup for potential winter weather. So I want to take you back here and go over the time frame one more time here in terms of travel and what we're looking at here for Friday through at least Sunday. Some scattered rain on Friday, but no winter precip expected on Friday. Last-minute errands need to be done either Friday night or Saturday morning. And then because as we go through the day Saturday and especially into Sunday, we're going to continue to have winter precip falling with temperatures in the 20s and low 30s, which is making travel very difficult, if not impossible, in some spots in North Georgia. Again, this is a situation where some of the model totals that we're seeing in terms of how much snow to the north and how much ice we could see here in the city in North Georgia, they are very high, and it's something that with this type of setup, I guess is not super unheard of, but it is something that would be definitely on the high end of impact that we have not seen here in many years potentially. So this is just where we stand as of Tuesday afternoon. We're still in the time frame where things can change, but at this point, for this system to just go away altogether, I don't think that's going to happen. But does the precip type change? Does the timing change? That probably will happen over the next couple days, and we're going to continue to keep you posted here on ANF Plus and inside the First Alert Weather app. Our very own Maria Moreau spoke recently with medical experts about how this type of weather and this type of cold can impact your health and things like that. So with more, we'll pitch it over to Maria with medical experts.
A winter storm may track through the southeastern U.S. this weekend, and we are keeping our eyes on North Georgia, tracking the chance for ice and snow and all of the dangers that are involved in things like that. And we want to get you prepared with our 2 First Alert weather days, one for Saturday, one for Sunday. We have been following this storm system really since we first picked up on it on radar, and we are continuing to keep you updated in the First Alert weather app and here on Atlanta News First Plus. And as we talk about weather and forecasting, it's very important to stay up to date on that information, but even more so, making sure that you understand how to prepare yourself, how to prepare your home and your family for these types of winter weather events. And so joining me now here on Atlanta News First Plus is Dr. Deval Desai, a primary care physician with the Atlanta Internists. Dr. Desai, thank you so much for joining us here. Your expertise is invaluable during times like this when we know a major system is coming our way, but we don't quite know what exact steps we should be taking. I want to start by what you experience around these types of weather events with patients, with health care that you offer to people.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Maria. You know, this is a very serious situation that could be developing over the weekend. And while we don't want to cause a lot of fear from a healthcare standpoint, I always believe in being proactive about your health and what's going around in the community. So with cold weather coming, ice storms coming, potential power loss, potential being trapped at home or being sort of snowed in or iced in, for lack of better words, the biggest things that come to mind that we really need to focus on is number one, watch for falls. So I always say this, we see an uptick in our emergency room visits with falls on ice, slipping, back pain, hip pain, leg pain. Falls happen, ice is slippery, and it's a risk. If we have to shovel out, if we have to do things like that, be sure you have the right footwear, including boots. Be sure you're in a position where you could potentially catch yourself. And also, we don't want our elderly, more frail population out and about. This is the time we really want to check in on them because they are our most vulnerable population.
And I know we talk about the risk with ice on having those injuries that can go from something small to something major. I want to talk to you more about the general cold exposure because
Sure.
a lot of folks here in Atlanta, we're not used to seeing this level of winter system. And so we might not be prepared on how to be outside in general.
Yeah.
We watch for those fall points,
Of course.
but there are those silent risks that we could
Yeah.
be taking.
We certainly do need to, and I grew up in Atlanta, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not something we prepare for, not always our wardrobe has it. So here's the thing. If we are outside or out and about when the temperatures are so frigid, irrespective of the ice storm or snowstorm coming this weekend, we know we're in this blast of cold air. When we're outside, we want our exposed areas covered. Earmuffs, gloves, we want our full body covered, long sleeve. We want these areas covered because we have to remember when it is cold outside, our body wants to conserve heat. So centrally, we're going to try to conserve all of our heat for the central organs in our body, our heart, our kidneys, our liver, all in the center part of our body. So what about our fingers, our toes? We have to help them and keep them covered with gloves, thicker socks. We want to really focus on that, the ears especially. And remember, not only for adults, but for our little ones. Yes, I have them too. And of course, if it snows, we'll be out and about playing, but we need the ears, the hands, the feet really well covered. And the other part is we don't want prolonged exposure outside. 15, 20 minutes to play in the snow for the kids should be good. Come in, cool off, or sort of warm up for lack of birds, cool off inside and warm up, and really focus on staying out for exposed periods of time.
Any signs or symptoms to look out for when that will sound the alarm in your head of like, okay, maybe I need to go inside?
Yeah, certainly. If you are feeling like you can't talk anymore, your lips feel frozen, you're having trouble getting your words out, you're feeling a little bit dizzy, you're feeling extra fatigued, or you're just feeling like I can't even take a deep breath in because it's so cold, that's a sign to go in. If you're feeling tingling in your fingers and toes, if you're feeling sort of these sensations that you're not used to, that's another sign to go inside. I also want to make a point about footwear during these cold temperatures. If you're out in the ice, snow, and you step in something. So yes, we want good footwear from shoes. We want thicker socks. But another important part is we have to keep our feet warm because that's our body's not used to keeping the whole body warm in those frigid temperatures. But there's a caveat. What happens with socks? Our feet are continuously sweating, moisture accumulates, and as we have more moisture, that heat will love to escape. So oftentimes, especially for those having to work outside or be exposed frequently, it is not an uncommon practice to change your socks 2 or 3 times a day because that moisture will make heat escape, make things more frigid, make you more prone to frostbite or other potential situations like infections.
See, even I didn't think of that, so it's always good to get a professional doctor to give you these tips.
Constant
so that
learning and reminders for all of us.
Exactly. Well, let's say it's the weekend
Yeah.
and I'm just going to stay home and crank
Yeah.
up the heat. I don't have to worry about any of this. Are there any at-home risks that people should be thinking of?
Right. So, the biggest thing I worry about in ice storms are power outages. I grew up in Atlanta, and for those of us that have been here for many years, in 1999 or 2000, there was a major ice storm where we lost power for 3 or 4 days. And it's miserable when you don't have power, electricity at home. But one health standpoint, things to keep track of. We want to make sure you have all your medications if you have chronic medications. The other thing I want to mention are space heaters. A lot of us choose to use space heaters to maybe keep one part of our house warm or another part that could not be getting the central heating, or you may not even have central heating, and we have to improvise. Keep in mind space heaters, depending on what you have, they need to be updated. Probably a newer one is safer. These older ones can emit carbon monoxide, and each one is different. The biggest risk with space heaters is carbon monoxide poisoning. And I want to emphasize that because that is a silent risk that a lot of people don't recognize. The biggest thing to prevent that is have a carbon monoxide detector in your house that will buzz and go off just like a smoke detector if you're exposed to that. But if you don't, things to keep in mind. If you're using a space heater or you're inside all day and you think, I'm starting to feel headaches, nausea, foggy, I just feel off, my family members are feeling that, there's a high likelihood that carbon monoxide could be leaking in. If that's happening, call 911 right away and the fire department can come and evaluate, test the situation, and then of course get you to a medical safe place. And lastly, the other thing, when the power goes out, what are we going to do about nutrition? Nutrition still matters. We can't go out and get takeout, Uber Eats, none of that stuff. Delivery doesn't work. So what are we going to do? We want to make sure we have non-perishables at home too. And we want things that are healthier, some things that will warm us up. Lentils, the pastas, the broths. Keep things that you can warm up easily, perhaps on a gas stove, so you have that. And also for the canned goods you have for emergencies, make sure that you have a can opener that's not electric. So those are the things that come to mind when I think being snowed in or trapped at home, what could get us in trouble. Calories, carbon monoxide issues, and those are the big things from a health standpoint, in addition to your medications.
You are thinking outside the box in ways that I never have. It is Tuesday, so a lot of folks are probably like, the weekend is so far away. I have
know.
all the time in the world
Right.
to start thinking about preparation, but it's going to come up fast.
I
So what should people be doing starting today?
So today, if you have medications you're on chronically, make sure you have enough of those. If something needs to be refrigerated, have a backup plan, maybe like a cooler with some ice in there if you need to keep medications cool, number one. Number two, please go ahead and stock up on some non-perishables in your house, whether it's canned foods, pastas. I would take some bottled water too. A lot of us think, hydration is different when it's cold outside, but remember, you still lose fluids when you sweat when you're outside, and you will still sweat some even in the cold. So you want to stay hydrated, and that's really important, especially if we don't have power. So those are the big things I would look after. And then lastly, we have to be a community. If you have elderly neighbors or ones that are more vulnerable, check in with them, come up with a plan. So in the event that we lose power, we're in a situation where we are not able to leave our home, we have a method to check in with them. Those are the big things that I can think of right now. And for those of us reliant on space heaters, or even not, if you do not have a carbon monoxide detector, today's the day to check out your hardware store, local stores, and get one. They're really easy to plug in and have in the house.
Dr. Desai, thank you so much for joining us on ANF Plus. I want to make sure that nothing has been left unsaid. Any other tips, takeaways that people need to keep in mind as we get closer and closer to the weekend?
Yeah, stay safe. And also you want to have fun, right? If it's beautiful snow out there with your kids, you're going to be out and about. But keep in mind these safety tips, because ultimately an ice storm, a snowstorm is when we do not want to have to utilize an emergency room and get there in a very dangerous, tricky situation.
Well, I hope that you are not busy over the weekend, but if folks need to connect with you in any way, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with you on social media. Instagram, Dr. Desai MD. That's DoctorDesaimD, and would love to connect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Desai. Again, we are going to keep you up to date on the winter weather system that we're following here on Atlanta News First Plus. Make sure you have the First Alert weather app downloaded on your phone. That is going to be the best way for you to stay up to date on changes in the forecast. With that, we are going to continue your coverage. First Alert weather team is keeping you up to date with weather, starting with our Atlanta News First News at 3. That's coming up, and make sure you tune in.
Thank you for watching ANF Plus. For more breaking news, live coverage, and your community stories, download the Atlanta News First app. You can also watch us on YouTube, Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. To join the conversation on YouTube Live, visit our channel and hit subscribe. You can also listen to the Atlanta News First podcast by searching Atlanta News First on your preferred listening platform.